friends, and welcome to another video lesson from DBOS Talks. If you haven't subscribed yet, please click subscribe and click the bell so that you can be notified of new uploads. This video is part of the playlist Math Using SQL, and here we'll be learning how to handle decimal values in SQL. So in mathematics, remember that there are two kinds of decimals. We have, I'll put them here, give me a moment. Terminating and repeating. So terminating, it doesn't end, keeps on repeating. Terminating is the one that is non-terminating, non-repeating, while repeating is the one that doesn't terminate. Okay, so if we do a division, there are chances that the quotient, the answer of division, will contain a decimal value. And so let's look at some examples so you can have a clarity of what we're talking about. So here we're doing a division. If you haven't seen my previous video, I suggest you watch my first video in this playlist, because it will give you just the basics of mathematical operations and how they are done in Oracle SQL. Okay, so if you haven't done so anyway, you should know that the operator for division in SQL is a slash. Okay, so 10/4 means 10 divided by 4. So that's our this is the expression that's doing some mathematical operation. So here we're dividing 10. We're doing 10 divided by 4. We're giving it an alias. Okay, let's see. So 10 divided by 4 is 2.5, as we can see. And like I said, it produces a division, may or may not produce a decimal value. In this case, it produced a decimal value, the 0.5. So it is a terminating decimal, all right? So in this case, no further action is needed from us. Now let's look at a different example, one that will need or require some manipulation, some number function. So select 10/3, which is division, from dual. So it gives us what you know, or what we call a repeating decimal. So 3.333 doesn't end. It simply ends there because the database itself put some limit on the number of decimal places it wants to display. Otherwise, it is really repeating. It is non-terminating. So here, this is one of the situations where you will need to use a number function to shorten the precision of the decimal values being displayed. Okay, so there are two ways of doing that in SQL. One is this, the round function. So if we remember our mathematics, we probably remember using rounding off. Okay, that term comes to mind. So this is the one that is doing that. It is a number function in SQL. So first, let's try rounding off. So rounding off can be done to a specified number of decimal places, or if you don't specify, then it will do, it will just cut off the decimal values. Okay, so let us try to reuse the select statement you've seen earlier, this time using the round function on it. Okay, so as you can see, the initial result of our division, 10 divided by 3, is 3.333, repeating decimal value. So now we will use a round function on this mathematical expression and let's see what will happen. Remember that I'm using the round function without any parameter on this specifying the decimal values. Okay, so what it does is just rounding off to the nearest whole number. Okay, so from 3.333 repeating, it just rounded off to 3, the whole number, which is the closest whole number to 3.333. Let's try another example of a slightly different case. Select 17/3, which is a division. Okay, and here there is a similarity and there is a bit of a difference, because not yet, but once we apply the round function. So I'm just showing you right now, without the round function, it is at 5.66666 repeating. Okay, so now let's it's a repeating decimal. But now we will try to round it off or to apply the round function on it, and you will see the difference between this and the previous example. So select round. Everything else is the same except that I've added the round function around the mathematical expression. So what happens is it rounded off. It uses the same principle of rounding off to the nearest whole number, but this time it went up. Instead of 5, it became 6 because 5.66 is nearer to 6 than it is to 5, isn't it? So that's why this is what happened. This is by using the round function without specifying any number of decimal places or precision. Okay, so it's still rounding off. It's still without a parameter, meaning without specifying the number of decimal places, but there are two possibilities. It could go up or down. It's just choosing which whole number it is nearer to. That's what it does. Now let's see rounding off while specifying the number of decimal places. Okay, so 10 divided by 3. Remember that 10 divided by 3 is, no, the 10 divided by 3 is 3.33. Repeating. Okay, so for comparison, I'm just leaving it here. Now let's use the round function, this time with a parameter. So 10 divided by 3, the mathematical expression, and then a comma. And after that is the precision or the number of decimal places that I want to round off this value to. So meaning I want to round off the 3.33 to decimal places. Okay, let's do it. So what it does is just 3.33. There is no change. It doesn't become 3.34. If you're familiar with the rounding off rules in mathematics, then you would understand. If I'm not wrong, it would be from 5 upwards. Then that's the only time it would round off to the next number. Okay, so it just cut off or retained 2 decimal places, 3.33. Okay. So we have learned the first function, number function that you can use to handle decimals, that is round function. And you've seen it in action in 2 ways. One is using the round function without any parameters. And the other way is by specifying a parameter, which is the number of decimal values that you want to round it off to. Okay. So the other function we'll be learning here is called trunc, which is short for truncate. Trunc, T-R-U-N-C. So unlike the round function, it doesn't round off the decimal value, but simply truncates or shortens it to the specified decimal places if you've given it. Okay, let's start with without any number function so that we can get a repeating decimal value. Okay, so again, I'll be using something else. Select 17/3, then it gives me 5.6666 repeating, okay, without the trunc function. Now let's try using the trunc function without a parameter, okay, on the same mathematical expression. So select, everything else is the same except that I've added the number function trunc around or on the mathematical expression. So select trunc 17/3, etc. Okay, execute it. And you have 5. So what happens is this is truncate. Truncate without a parameter, without specifying the number of decimal places. So what it does is it truncated the 5.6666 into just 5. Okay, so this is truncating without a parameter. So it truncates it to a whole number. But it doesn't do a rounding off, mind you. What it does is it simply cuts off, truncate simply cuts off the decimal places. It doesn't think about the rules of rounding off, like 5.5 becomes 6 or 5.3 becomes 5. It doesn't do that. It simply cuts off the decimal places. That's what it does when you use the trunc function. Now let's use the trunc function while specifying a parameter for the decimal places or the precision. So here is the same mathematical expression. I'm using 17/3, but around it I'm using trunc function with a parameter of 4, meaning I want this to truncate the value, the quotient, up to 4 decimal places maximum. Okay. So remember that the original value was 5.666666, which is repeating. So with the trunc, like I said, it doesn't do a rounding off, it simply cuts off decimal places or values. So it cuts off the rest of the decimal values, only retaining 4 decimal values or places. That's why, or it's because of this parameter of 4 here. Okay, so we got 5.6666. So there you have it. We've learned in this video 2 number functions that you can use to handle decimal values in SQL. The first one is round, and we've done that using with or without parameter. And the second function is the trunc, which is short for truncate. And we've also done it in 2 ways, with or without a parameter, for the precision for the decimal values. Okay, so thank you for watching and thank you for listening. If you haven't subscribed yet, please click subscribe. I hope to see you in the next video.